Welcome to the Virtual Antics, your go-to podcast for digital entrepreneurs, powered by Nendora.org and NG Virtual Assistant. We're here to guide you through every aspect of business, from networking to lead generation and so much more. Get ready to thrive in the virtual world with expert insights and our all-in-one solution, Nendora, where creating a digital business becomes a breeze. Let's dive in and revolutionize your business journey together. Welcome to the Virtual Antics podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Guzman. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I have Beate Chelette, and I am so excited because Beate is a growth architect and founder of the Women's Code, and she provides visionaries and leaders with proven strategies, blueprints, and growth maps that provide clear steps to improve business systems, strengthen leadership skills and teams so that our clients and audiences can maximize profits and scale their impact. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm excited to be here.
So how'd you become this, and how'd you get started? And tell me a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, so I came to the term growth architect because, and because we talking to women entrepreneurs, I think we'll just open the curtain a little bit and take them right behind it. And so the idea is that I always talk about that who you are or what you are to be part of your brand. And so when I found my first client back when I was in the photography business before everything went to hell in a handbasket, and then I was able to turn it around and get out of $135,000 and sell my business to Bill Gates. Before, as all of this happened, I realized that somebody had said, call Beate in Los Angeles. And I'm like, what? Somebody can find me in a 13 million city just by mentioning my first name. And then I got this client, it was Levi Strauss. So I realized that over time that people looked at me as this kind of engineering, mind thinking, straight shooter, German, which I am. And so I figured that the name that I was going to pick for this business, for the consulting business and the coaching business, needed to be along the lines of something that sounded like it had a very specific language. We call this in Growth Architect, the signature growth system, right? It has to be a recognizable piece. And so I choose the growth architect. And so we design blueprints and we design roadmaps. So everything is in this language of how do we architect someone's growth? Because it's like building a house. I don't care on whether you paint the walls blue or green or pink or purple, but if you don't have a solid foundation, if you don't have if your angles aren't the right angles, your cornerstones are not there, if the building is not supported, it's going to all fall apart. So we say growth architecture because the basis has to be built properly.
That is amazing. I absolutely love that. And man, you hit some pretty big milestones in your business. Like, how was it like working, selling your business to Bill Gates? I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, like you said, oh man, they see me as, this straight shooter. So how did you feel like you kind of went through like identity change when you hit that really big milestone in your business?
I repeat the question again. I just had to change networks because I had a lag, so that will cut that out. Apologize for that. Go ahead.
It's okay. 1 second, because my battery isn't working. Hold on 1 sec.
Oh, okay. All right. So we got this at the same time then.
Perfect. Yeah, I was trying to fix it with my foot. It's okay. My editor will edit all that stuff out. So perfect. All right. So let me start over. So you hit a lot of really big milestones in your business, especially when you sold a business to Bill Gates. Huge. That's amazing. And working like with Levi Strauss. So what did you have some sort of like identity change? I know sometimes like when I hit those really big milestones, I'm like, man, I didn't know like I could get this far. I could get to this level. Did you feel kind of that, change in who you are?
That's actually a very interesting question. Interesting question because it alludes to something that's much larger than us, and that is our mindset, and that is our journey altogether. So I'm sure that your listeners have heard this: what got you here isn't going to get you there. And this is what this is about. So I think we make this mistake, Natalie, that as we go into business, if I only were to get to the $250,000, I can pay my bills and I can put some money aside. I can pay for the school for my kids. I can buy the car. Yeah, hello. And then you go, well, now I'm at the 250. I want to get to 5. I want to get to 1 million. I want to get to 2 million. I want to get 5 million. And so we keep putting this marker further down the road. So there's a couple things to know about this. So first of all, the journey is indeed a journey. It is not a journey to a full stop. In mindset or in spiritual teachings, they always tell you you're either growing or dying. So you make the decision. If you stop learning, you stop growing, and your business gets stagnant, it really starts to fall backward because everything else keeps growing. So now you need to think about, if you want to get from the $250,000 to the $500,000, how is this person that runs a $500,000 business going to look like? What does she do? Which master classes does she take? Which mastermind does she participate in? Who is her business coach? Who is the circle of people that she hangs out with? Who are the client that she attracts? And what you will find is that the clients change, because the marker was so intense, Natalie. So when I sold my business, like, I was the exact same person, but I sold my business to Bill Gates. I made a couple $1 million. And so when this money was in my bank, people started to look at me differently. And suddenly I became too big for some people to work with me, which is, but I'm the same person. How can because in the perception of people, it changes. Like when you go in the Toyota dealership, and we just did this, you see that the salesperson at the Toyota dealership wears like the crappy suit and the cheap shoes, right? That went out of style 10 years ago. And then you go to the BMW dealership, and your top salesperson, my salesperson, she was a Prada suit, right? So you know that at the BMW dealership, you're going to spend more money than at the other dealership. So when I walked into the Toyota dealership, and I'm going like, man, like, get me out of here. It just wasn't vibing with me, because it's just not the level where I'm at right now. I go in the BMW dealership, and I don't mean this to sound pretentious or anything, but I want to explain this as a concept so your listeners can understand. This happens to our clients, their clients, as they go further up the road. So don't go and say, yeah, but I still can sell you the Toyota. No, you're running the BMW dealership now. So stick to that. And so to answer your question, finally, after a long-winded detour here, is yes, it does change, and you have to be prepared for that. And you change your branding, you change your language, you change your look, you change what you wear, you change the direction, you change the focus. We just did this again it started about 2 years ago. And what I found, now I'm a woman over 50. And what happens is that women over 50 have a general perception in the public, especially by a certain type of men, as not aging well. Oh my God, look at her, she got old. As this aging feminist. Oh my God, she hates men. And it has nothing to do with me. Again, I have not changed. But the perception of me, now that I'm not cute and young, I'm not the next hot young thing. I'm not the one with another really cute next fabulous idea while I look, gorgeous, because I'm over 50. I mean, there's my daughter's having a baby. So I'm going to be a grandparent in about 2 weeks, to be exact. And so you can either do the Madonna thing and then try desperately to chase youth, or you need to change your branding and become, I always say, you become the Ruth Bader Ginsburg and look at what is that brand that works for me right now. And so that's really the message for your listeners, to say, you do need to look at your brand. And you need to say, is that brand congruent with who you are, or does it need adjustment? And then you have to own that piece.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave us so much, so many good stuff, especially, I'm also going through that change, and we had to change our branding, our automations. I had to look through every single step and see how was I talking to my leads and my clients, because we went through that shift as well. And it's kind of crazy because if, like you said, you have to be prepared for it, because if you're not, you're going to get stuck. And I think I was stuck for a good month where I had always talked to people that, made less than six figures, because that's who I helped when I first started my business. And now I'm helping people that are seven figures and above. And it was a big mind shift for me, mindset change. And I had to kind of, package myself in a way that, would fit with the seven figure entrepreneurs. And I am one myself. And I think that's something that it doesn't sink in my brain. I'm like, I'm still me. It doesn't matter how much money I make, right? Like you said, I'm still that same person. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like, it's a very crazy mind shift change. You have to be prepared for it. I think especially, when I first made my first seven figures, that was a huge changing point in the business that I was not ready for. So if any of my listeners are, at that point where they're on that, that's when their goals, be ready for that mind shift change, or ready for that client that loves what you do and they respect what you do, and they have, maybe a lot more money. You kind of have to like adjust, because your network is your net worth, right? And same with your clients. So they're going to refer their friends, and all of a sudden you're going to have all these people that are just like them. And that sounds like what kind of happened to you, right? Because you probably got a lot of referrals from those high net worth clients. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, you have to then hang out in these circles. So
Mhm.
you just don't go, and again, this goes back to the Toyota and BMW dealership. And of course, it could be any kind of other example. But yes, it goes back to that. If you want to elevate your business and you want to help more people at a larger scale, and I always talk about in growth architecture about grow your authority, scale your impact. So to me, this is an impact issue. Do I believe that somebody who makes $50,000 is making more impact than somebody who makes $5 million? Of course not. Somebody who's making $5 million is serving more clients, is impacting more people. So we purposely changed our mission statement and said our impact is measured by the impact we help other people make. That means that unless I help more people to make a larger impact, I'm not making my impact. And now suddenly I'm not fulfilling my mission. So I also recommend to use sort of these Jedi mindset tricks on yourself and say, well, what do I need to put out there to remind myself every single day? And, I wrote my manifesto, and my manifesto is, who am I? What's my relationship? What's my body look like? How am I going to work? And then it changes again, because now I have going to be a grandchild that's going to be that I actually want to spend time with, because I don't have all the obligations as the mother. Thank God. I can feed it espresso and chocolate and hand it back to the poor parents, pure revenge. And I look forward to it. So how is that going to affect me? And the other thing, Natalie, I want to mention is like, I read, no, I didn't read, but I watched the documentary on this book, The Art of Not Giving a Bleep.
Mhm.
And I think there's like one line in there that is so absolutely life-changing. And he says simply, Mark Madsen says that imagine this hypothetical scenario that we all had one guaranteed outcome, and it's all the same outcome. We all die, hypothetically speaking. Now, if we knew this was our exit point, what would you do today to reverse engineer your path there so that you have the exit that you desire? And then if you now take that and reverse engineer that really and look at it today, and you say, there's no medal for doing everything by myself. Because if I do everything by myself, my exit will be nobody will be there, because I'm a narcissistic egomaniac who thinks I know everything better. So that's out. So then if I want a big party and people, talking about what an impact I made, how many people I have, what do you need to do today to get to that point? And it is not going to be pushing $50,000 from the left to the right.
Mhm.
That is to put your big girl pants on and say, I'm here for a reason. I'm listening to this for a reason. What do I need to do to get to that point? And I think that really put it in perspective for me, where I said, okay, if it is true that this is my exit point, and of course it is true, it's my exit point, it's everybody's exit point, then number one, I don't want to arrive there And I look at my mother, I look at my mother-in-law, and they're all paranoid. They're all terrified of dying. And my mother-in-law is 92, my mother is 88. And it's almost, my mother doesn't want to use a walker because it's for old people. I said, you're 88. You're 80. I mean, 88. I said, what, is this only for people over 100? I mean, are you, but it's this perpetual fear to look at the reality of where we are in life. And frankly, I don't find this very attractive. I want to get to the point where I say, I know exactly how old I am. I know exactly where in my journey I am, and I'm doing exactly the steps that I said I was going to take.
Yeah, I think what you said about like future planning, we like a lot of entrepreneurs think you can keep your business life and your personal life separate, but really you need to, reflect on your personal life so you can plan for it, right? Like for instance, I just alerted all my staff that I'll no longer be working on Tuesdays and Thursdays because my stepfather has dementia. So I want to be able to be there with him, spend, as much time as I can with him, and just really enjoy, these however time we have left with him, and also give my mother a break. So that's really important because at the end of it, why are we working? We're usually working for our families and our loved ones, right? So we can support them. And that's why I became an entrepreneur, was so that I could make my own schedule for instances like this, where now I can rearrange my schedule and my team is ready. They're handling it. They're no longer scheduling things on those days. And I can breathe and not have to worry about my mom and how I'm going to juggle work and supporting my family. So I think it's really, really important, like you said, to really plan for your future. Look at your goals. What do you want? And by the way, congrats on being a grandmother. That's so, so exciting. I'm so happy for you. Really, I love new babies in the family. So I just
Oh my God, it's like the best, the squishy little cute babies. Yeah, her name is going to be Kayliana Rose, and she's she's coming through. And I think you said something very, very important. And maybe, Natalie, maybe you should touch on this for your audience just for a second. What you said is that your team knows what they're doing. So that tells me as an architect, a growth architect, that you have systems in place and that you have scaling. You looked at scaling. So I think it's really important to understand that if you do not have the signature growth system, as we call it, right, where there's an umbrella of everything that you do, and then there's the client transformation under it in phases clearly laid out. You cannot do what you just told me that you did. So I know you did this because I know now that whatever phase number 1 can be handled by this person and phase number 2 can be handled by this person. And now you can step back and you say, I grew enough to now get my freedom back by using the same strategies and systems that I built. And I think that's what bites so many entrepreneurs in the butt, is that there is this idea that they're better at things than everybody else. And it's a lie. Yeah. It's an absolute lie. We just started running ads, and I can tell you with every bone of my body, this whole digital marketing ads, the language is really not, I can't say that I wake up and I look at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, open rates, click-through rates, PPIs. It does not get me excited. So I need to hire somebody who's excited about that.
Yeah.
Because that would be really bad if we didn't have somebody like that. So we also have to look at our strength in business, which I bet you have, and then put the right people in the right places to say, and now I feel I can step back, and now I get my freedom back through these systems. So they are really these two places. You grow hard until you get to the point, and then you scale hard to get the freedom back.
Exactly. And, when I was in my virtual assistant agency, that's the number one thing I see with my clients, is that it actually comes down to a communication error. The one, they have the ego, but 2 is they don't know how to communicate with a team correctly, or they don't have SOPs, they don't have systems and processes. If you are trying to scale your business, or you're trying to create that freedom, you need to hire people, like you said, and you need not only hire them, but you need to train them correctly and have the support for them. And if you have those SOPs, you have the systems and processes already in place, or you've hired people to create those systems and processes for you, even better, you can do anything you want in your business. It's really unbelievable. You end up saving so much time and money. So when people tell me, oh, I don't have time for this, or I don't have money for this, I was like, you're going to be saving that. I was like, just schedule it because you will save that when you're hiring a team in the long run. It's even like within 30 days is usually I see a major improvement in all of our systems and processes when I hand something off. So
Yeah, and yes, exactly. And I always say it's time or money. It depends on what you value more. You pay the same either way. So I've seen people that have told me that they can't afford my services. And then I meet them back 2 years later and they're on the exact same sine wave that they've always been on. And then I look at my fee and the time that they wasted. And I said, you just lost $250,000 worth of income that you could have had. Would you have spent whatever the 10,000 or 15,000 or whatever the project may have been? So it's so short-sighted because we look at what we have today. And again, in a growth mindset, you have to make the decision first, and then you have to step into the decision, and then the stuff will unfold. But people think they're going to continue to do the same thing that they've always done, and then magically they're going to have a different result, which is the definition of insanity. Magically they have a different result, and then the money is there, so then they can afford it. That's not how growth works. Growth is an investment. When you take your money and you put it in a stock, you put it in with the expectation that the stock is going to perform. Now imagine you say, I want to buy $10,000 worth of that stock so that I can then afford it. By the time you have the $10,000, that stock's at $20,000. Now you lost 10,000 because you couldn't make the decision back then. So now you need 20,000. So you're now always running behind the actual objective that you try to achieve. And that's where so many people go wrong, because especially women, let's just be honest about that, especially women that are more risk adverse, because we're not being taught that.
yeah. I 100% agree. You gave us so much on this episode that I really recommend that people keep listening to it multiple times and write down notes, because there's just so much knowledge you can get from this. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. How can my listeners find you?
Yes. So the first thing that I would recommend everybody to do, if you're having a block in your business, go to our complimentary quiz. It's called the #1 business growth blocker. You go to growthblockerquiz.com. Takes literally 2 minutes. And then we'll tell you exactly where you're stuck. And if you heard something where you say, maybe I need to architect my growth, go ahead and go to uncoverysession.com. Make sure you mention Natalie's show and sign up for a 15-minute complimentary session. We'll help you figure out where that blocker is. And while we're at it, will you please go wherever you pick up this podcast and give Natalie a 5-star review, subscribe to the podcast, and maybe share it with one other person who needs to hear exactly what we were talking about today. It is a labor of love. Natalie loves you all. She does this because she wants to support you. Give her some love back.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you so much. But we'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you for listening. We'll see you guys later.